Actually, so many players have gotten so much better.
Right.
It's just so hard. I'm not trying to get clapped by 4 tryhards.
Everybody's skill level's getting better. Everybody's getting better at the game.
You heard the pros. The good old days of just build to win isn't gonna cut it anymore. You have to practice harder and smarter than everyone else to dominate, or you're just gonna get crushed by everyone. Hey future pros, it's OmniPie here. You guys notice that pretty much everyone can build these days? Like in almost every single game, I would just go in and then loot like 3 guns, get into a fight, and the guy's already building Wakanda. Like, what the frick, man? So just knowing how to build these days isn't really gonna work anymore. I've already made 2 build guides before. Both have a crap ton of views that helped a lot of people build better. But maybe they helped too many people, because it looks like everyone knows how to build now. So the only option left at this point is to build faster than everyone else. You gotta become Sanic. In my other build videos, one question that kept being asked over and over is, what if someone else watched that video? Then how are you supposed to beat them? The answer is to practice using these 3 brain hacks that I'm gonna give you in this video. These aren't just for Fortnite either. They'll work for like any game, but we'll stick with Fortnite in this video. If you use them right, your training speed will go up by 10 times minimum, maybe even 20 times. Obviously, it's gonna vary from person to person. Up to 20 times? Okay, what's the catch here, OmniPie? Well, if these brain hacks works for you, then just leave a like and subscribe. Also consider using code OmniPie in the item shop to support me. So let's just go ahead and get started, shall we? The first brain hack is using segmentation, or just dividing a big part into smaller parts and just practicing those smaller parts one at a time. In the past, when I tried to start practicing something that I didn't know, I would just go and try and do the whole thing until I get it right, and this didn't work out at all. It's a really bad habit that a lot of people do. What you want to do is break the big thing into like smaller parts, and then you combine those parts together once you understand those small parts, and it just becomes like really easy because it's just a bunch of small parts, you know? So for example, remembering a phone number. If I just throw 10 digits at you, like 298-641-4273, are you gonna memorize that? No, you can't really memorize that. So that's why they actually write it in like groups of 3 or 4. So you start with 298 and then 641 and then 4273. Once you memorize each small part, you just kind of string them together like 298, 641, 4273. It's just super easy. Alright, so for Fortnite, I'm gonna go ahead and use the 90s as an example. Alright, so there you go. See, this was like, I don't know, maybe 20 button presses, and it only took like 2 to 3 seconds. So this is pretty advanced, and it might look really hard at first, but that's because you're trying to do the whole thing all at once. When you do that, a newbie's gonna look like this. They're gonna be like, oh gosh, oh, nope, I messed up, oh no. And then you go again, and you're like, oh, now what? I don't... And then okay. You usually do it too early, you build the ramp too early, you don't jump quick enough. There's like all these things that could happen because you're trying to do the whole thing at once, you know? We're gonna break it down instead, and then you can spend as much time as you want on each part. You start with the ramp, and you're gonna want to be on the middle of the left side. And then the next step is when you're like about here, you want to start doing this. So you just practice this over and over until you get it. The trick is to put your mouse like around here. This is the point that you can just make a circle really quickly. So you do this over and over until you get it right, and then you can actually move on to the next part. And the next part is a bit tricky. So you want to start jumping here to over here and then build full ramp. So you build this first. You don't want to start this. You don't want to do like the first part while practicing the second part. So you don't want to do this, right? Because you might mess up the second part really easily because you're rushing it. So just practice the second part by itself. So do this, right? And then you build that part, and then you do this over and over and over, and you can do it like 5 times in a row without messing up. And then you can combine them together to make it smooth, like this. And the trick with this is that when you jump like this from here to here, you're already at the middle of the next ramp, and then from here you can just redo the whole thing, you doing this. So after you jump here, you can do this, and boom. So I'll do it fast here. See, I'm already here, so all I have to do is jump again. But again, don't do the whole thing until you got the first and second part correct. And once it's all together, it's gonna look like this. Boom. See, super fast. There's jump fatigue. That's why I only do it up to 3 times. You only want to do it like 3 times like this. Now I made that look really easy because I've already practiced this, of course. And the second brain hack is gonna make it so that's actually really easy. A lot easier than normal, at least. The second brain hack is gonna sound pretty crazy to some of you, but I swear it works, and there's actually research that works too, which I'll link in the description below. And for some reason, they don't teach you this in school, which they totally should. I had to learn this from reading a book called Mastery by Ryan Holidays. It's a great book. So what it basically is that instead of doing the actual thing that you want to get better at, like, you know, just practicing with your mouse, keyboard, controller, or whatever, you just kind of imagine that you're doing the thing, right? Like, that sounds so weird. But here, I'll go ahead and show you guys some scientific and research studies on this that actually show significant improvement. So here we have internal imagery training in active high jumpers. It says that the conclusion is that there was a significant improvement on bar clearance for the group that used imagery training. And here's one that was done on children at 7 to 10 years old, so you know that this pretty much works at all ages. The results indicated that children who use mental imagery experienced significantly greater improvement in the accuracy and technical quality. And last one, the use of imagery by athletes in selected sports. This basically asks a bunch of athletes if they actually use imagery training. And the really interesting thing is that the higher level of skill the athlete was competing in, the more imagery that they used. So if you want to be really good like the pros, you have to use imagery. So in my personal experience, using imagery training can actually help you learn a certain build technique like 5 to 10 times faster. So I'm gonna go ahead and apply it to the 90s here, so you guys know how to do it yourself. Like I said earlier, doing this and this like alone is pretty easy, but the tricky part is putting them together. Like, where do you swing, how far do you have to swing, the timing, the movement, the jump, all of that you have to like put all together all at once. And if you don't know how to do it, then you're just gonna mess up a lot. So this is where imagery comes in. So you're gonna go ahead and do it slow. You have to start knowing how to do it. If you don't know how to do it, then, you know, no matter how good your imagination is, you're never actually gonna copy the real thing. So you gotta look up like a guide or something like that to understand. And so here's like a quick guide. This is what you do. You jump from right here about a little more than halfway. And while you're jumping like this, you don't actually like move to the right. You're going straight the whole time. I'm just going diagonal just because I'm turning. So just understand that your input is going to be straight the whole time. And then after you jump a little bit, you just press EQ. In my case, it's EQ because that's my wall and ramp. So here's how I do it slowly. And now I'm just gonna do it in my head. It's really hard to show this part, but you can start mumbling it. It's like, okay, so I'm gonna run straight forward, Q, spin around like this, and then after I jump, I'm gonna E ramp. So that was really slow, and then I just repeat this over and over in my head, and each time I do it quicker and quicker and quicker. I'll do this until I get like pretty confident. And while you're doing this, you can do it as quickly as you want. You don't mess up and then you don't restart. You don't have to do any prep. You just kind of do it in your head. And then once you're comfortable, you do it. And then, you know, you might mess up and you're like, oh shoot, I messed up. So what went wrong? In this case, I think I probably didn't go far enough. I probably like jumped like back here. So I'm gonna be like, okay, that's what I have to fix. So this time I'm gonna go ahead and fix that mistake. I'm gonna jump a little bit higher, and there it is. Oh, but what's this? Why is there a 4 above? Oh, I think it's because my mouse is too high, so I have to move the mouse down a little. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that a little bit here. Oh my god, there we go, perfect. So my mouse was like right here instead of here, and I jumped from a bit higher, so I'm gonna go ahead and do that in my head. You know, and I make sure to point out that one mistake that I fixed too. So ramp, run up, and then be a little higher than before, and then when I rotate, it's gonna be lowish like this, so there's no wall above. And then do that over and over like 5-6 times, and then just do it, and then actually do it, and it's like, whoa, look at that, everything's perfect. And you move on, and you kind of do this to like all of them, you know, until you get it right. So that's basically how I use imagery training. I'm messing up a lot because it's kind of hard to do this while talking, you know, it takes a little bit of concentration. But look at that, I did it pretty well. If you can master processing like this and also learning segmenting, this will literally let you become a better player 10 times faster. And now we're finally at the third brain hack, which could actually double your training speed or even more by doing less. Yeah, you heard me right. You can do less and get more with periodic practice. So we've all heard this before. Cramming doesn't work. I should know this. In college, I basically skipped a whole week of math class because it's college. You literally don't have to go if you don't want to. And I just tried to cram 2 chapters of the math textbook in one night. I legit thought I had it all figured out. Then when I took the test, I couldn't remember half the things that I know I looked over the night before. Like, what the heck just happened to them? They're just gone. Literally, they went in and they just went out instantly. Your brain can only take in a certain amount of information at once. It's like your muscles, because it actually is a muscle. You can't just lift hard for 3 hours and expect to get the same gains as like 3 different 1-hour sessions. If anything, that would just damage your muscle instead. Same goes with your brain. After loading up on enough information, it needs rest to soak in the information and grow. So what I like to do when I'm practicing building is just practice like a certain build for 3 to 5 minutes, then do another build. This is only for builds I already know how to do, and I'm just trying to do it faster. When you're learning a brand new build, you can go for around 10 minutes and it'll still be fine. But after that, there's going to be a lot of diminishing returns because you can only learn new information once you let the information you already have soak in after a while. In my own experience, practicing twice a day for 10 minutes each session is better than practicing for like an hour straight. So if you want to go really hard, you can practice like 10 to 15 minutes after waking up because your brain is refreshed. Then after resting for another couple hours, you can do another 10 to 15 minutes in the middle of the day, and then another 10 to 15 minutes at night. And this will be as effective as 2 to 3 straight hours of practice. Go ahead and give these brain hacks a try and then come back and tell me if it works in the comments section. None of these are very straightforward, like press A, B, up, down to level up, so it would be really helpful for other players to see if these tips worked for other players as well. Like, comment, subscribe, and use code OmniPie in the item shop to support me. Go and get good, you future pros.